rotate, get the rotator, but Shoxy going to try to foil that plan.
Can't get anything. Happy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
And it is. And here's the smoke at ramp. LDLC going to try to push through it. Zipnik's going to find one. Cajun B is there as well. They kind of line up, but it doesn't matter. They'll still find the frag.
Forcing it to be a bunch of weird rotates here. Hazy K out in the middle, he's going to shut it down.
That's the kind of spot the bomb. He doesn't want to expose himself for the frag, but he does anyway.
Oh my goodness, stays with the ace.
Players on CT side, Torch over there. B, they're going to rush. They want this gun really bad. They're just going to run directly into Hazy K.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from Aspen, Colorado. Welcome to the MLG X Games Invitational. For the next 3 days, we'll see 8 of the world's best Counter-Strike global offensive teams facing off for $50,000. And more importantly, for the first time in X Games history, X Games gold medals. To kick off the tournament, let's send it over to our casters to give us the tournament rundown. DDK and Staticist, what's up? What's up, guys?
Thanks, Chris. I am personally so excited. I know you are as well, Sadikist. It's going to be amazing.
Unreal.
But first things first, the tournament format. What do these teams have to do to bring themselves to all that prize money, the gold medal, and so on and so forth? So we've got 8 teams, as Chris Bucket mentioned. We've got 2 groups, so we're splitting them between 2 teams from America in each group and 2 teams from Europe. So, and even the Brazilian team in there, you know, Kaboom,
Right, yep.
That's really, really cool as well.
The wild card in the tournament, if you will, the team that's a little bit less known. So interesting to see how they play. And of course, they are, as you mentioned, split into 2 groups, and they will play every team in their pool at least once. The best 2 teams from each pool move forward to our playoffs and toward those gold medals. And along with the gold medal, the prize pot of $50,000, $25,000 for first, and that gold medal, as along with silver for second, $12,500, $7,500 in bronze, and if you make it at least to the medal round, $5,000 for coming in 4th place. So a lot of glory on the line, along as prize money. Again, that first X Games gold for Counter-Strike. Unbelievable that we're here.
Yeah, the same, just for extra clarification, the same medals the athletes at X Games are going to receive as well. Like that's really, really cool. To me personally, as a massive nerd, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Esports is growing. That said, let's take a closer look at our 8 teams with our experts, Thorin and Faflaren.
Okay, hey guys, it's Thorin here, aka the esports historian. I'm joined by Faflaren, former player for NIP. Now he's here on the nerd desk with me, kind of giving everyone the expert information, sometimes disagreeing with me, sometimes agreeing. So let's take a closer look at some of the teams we've got competing here, these 8 teams. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the first team. It's a North American team, fan favorites, Cloud9 of course. We've got Nothing, often known as like an entry fragger. The new man, Shazam, he's an AWPer, dedicated AWPer previously on Denial, had a good run at ESEA. We've got Sean Gares as the in-game leader. Shroud is kind of like the new star, he's the guy they brought in the middle part of the year. And then we've got, I think he's like a troll, he's kind of like the support player. I don't think he'd classify himself as that, Semphis. In terms of this team, the player I have to bring out for you is, it's got to be Shazam. I mean, this is the guy where he's the new guy coming in. He's replacing Hiko, who, for my money, was the best North American player. I thought he was really stable. You always knew what you got from him. And so this new guy comes in. He's going to have to AWP, which is like that's a pressure position, you know. And you're representing a team that's a very big name team, fan favorites. Doesn't have such a big profile. What do you think of Shazam coming into this new Cloud9 lineup, Fifth?
I think it's a good change for Cloud9. They really needed a solid AWPer instead of Sean Gares, so he can just focus on calling in game. And it's going to be a little change of tactics in terms of gameplay for Cloud9 as well. They're changing out Hiko, which was their lurker, and instead they're getting Shazam, which is a great AWPer, and it's really going to open up the tactical field for Cloud9.
Yeah, and if we go into another team now, another team where this is a new lineup for you guys, it's Counterlogic Gaming. Formerly, of course, they were the Mouse Spaz guys. We've got Cutler in the top left there, kind of a supportive player. We've got FNS as the in-game leader. Peter, kind of guy where some people think he's online. We'll see how good he is offline here. He's going to be like the aggressive player. Speaking of aggression, we've got Tarek here. This is a guy who's just an all-out player. You're probably going to see some AWPing from FNS as well. Hazed, he's kind of like the lurker role. There's your team. There's Counterlogic Gaming. I think the player I want to go in on here is going to be Peter, actually, because I heard a lot of hype actually from other players, his peers within the North American community. They're wondering, like, can he be one of the next like blossoming stars within the scene? So I know you probably won't see much of them. They've only really played online with this lineup. Like, what do you think whenever you come into a game and you've got a guy where online there's a lot of hype, How often do you think they actually deliver when the big tournament comes?
Not that often, especially when it's their first international tournament. And a guy like Peter as well, he's their upper in the team, and he has a lot of weight on his shoulders. And it's going to be fun to see if this guy, if his credibility will show up in this first game.
Yeah, okay. So let me think, who do we have? Team Liquid now, another team represented by one of those big League of Legends organizations. They've picked them up now. This was the team formerly known as Denial. Now this team, they brought in a Dren who was in iBuyPower. He's the in-game leader now. That means that Daps moves from being an in-game leader over to probably more of a supportive role. We've got Fogley there, he's kind of like a mid-round type of player. Naf, maybe we'll see some AWPing from him. Secondary AWPer to a Dren. Obviously a Dren's known as like a primary AWPer. And finally we've got Nitro. Nitro kind of the guy I want to key in on now, because to me, he's like the guy who can be the star of this team. We saw actually, he had a dreadful DreamHack winter when he was a brand new player in iBuyPower. Then he came to ESEA season 17. He had a wonderful tournament, even though it was his last one for iBuyPower. I feel like if this team's going to be really good, they've lost Shazam. Now they bring in this guy Nitro who had a great performance. If he can have another breakout performance here, maybe they can do damage. They are in a difficult group, but what do you think of this guy Nitro? Because at DreamHack Winter, I mean, you wouldn't have known there was much to talk about there.
Yeah, Nitro is also this new up-and-comer, and when you hear a player like that, who's been amazing online, and then you go into their first tournament, and during DreamHack as well, he did pretty poorly, then again, it's a lot of weight on his shoulders, and coming into ESEA, I think he actually played really well at ESEA, so let's see if he can actually keep that up, because this team will really need it to actually be able to do well at this tournament.
So we've had all the North American teams so far. We're going south of the border, guys, now. Representing Brazil, Kaboom Esports. We saw these guys at ESWC. Now we're going to see how do they stack up when they're against the North American teams, best European teams. So we've got Fallen, legendary 1.6 player. He's obviously going to be an AWPer. That's his best strength. We've got Bolts over here. The in-game leader is Steel. We've got Fur, and we've got ZQK. That's the fifth man. I mean, I'm going to have to key in on Fallen here because his history is really, really good from 1.6. He was in the latter days. His team wasn't very good, but he was like a star quality player, you know. And so I've always felt like in CSGO in particular, the AWPers are the ones who transitioned better because there are to some degrees the AWP's quite similar as a weapon. And we can see now in the modern day, especially, the AWP's having a huge impact on the game. So what do you think, if he can have a strong AWP performance here, is the upset even possible?
There's always possibility of an upset, and then keep in mind as well, Fallen actually played a little bit of Source as well. So he has the best of two worlds coming into CSGO, and again, he's their best player, and he's the guy who really needs to show up for Kaboom to actually maybe make an upset.
He also uttered an infamous statement, by the way, in the 1.6 community. He said that he thought Source was more tactical than 1.6. You're wrong, Fallen. You're not right about that. But
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay?
I'm not going to say anything.
Don't get involved in this, bro. So we're now going to go to the European side of things. Representing Denmark, it's Dignitas, Team Dignitas. So we got Device here, very aggressive player, really good AWPer, really good rifler, generally an all-around talent. The in-game leader was Carrigan, the new man. He came in, he was previously in Mouse Sports, played in Playing Dogs, a lot of different teams. Cajun B, he rejoined the team recently this year. He can AWP sometimes, secondary AWP. Very skilled player, very confident player. That was sometimes his problem in the past, I think. Zipnix is in this role, he's kind of more of a supportive player in this team, even though I think he could be like an all-out fragger if he was in another team. And finally, Dupree, great entry fragger, a guy where, again, you need him to be rolling if you're going to do well. I think actually on this team, even though I love Device, I love Dupree, I'm going to put the focus onto Carrigan because he's the new guy, but crucially as the in-game leader. We've already known that Dignitas have the skills. They've got all these fraggers, these really skilled players, but they've never had like the unit. They've never been the cohesive team, and the teams that beat them are the ones who have the tactics, and they know how to win T-side rounds. The old Dignitas was like, we better win 13 CT rounds or this game's over. We don't know what Carrigan's style is going to be like. He hasn't played the LAN yet, but what do you think his impact can be on Dignitas?
I think it might be, if you look at how Carrigan actually called for Mouse Sports, it's a little bit different than in terms of how Fetish used to call. And again, like you were pointing out, Dignitas was always known for being one of the best CT-sided teams in the world. They were never really that great on the T side, and this is the change that they really need, especially when they always do good in groups. They tend to choke a little bit during the playoffs, just a little bit, and then maybe bringing in Carrigan might actually change that. Maybe we'll see their first finalist. Who knows?
So, I mean, a lot of weight on his shoulders, not even in terms of fragging, but he has to get this team going in a new way they haven't had before. So, representing France, LDLC, the DreamHack Winter Champions, winners of the last major, as I say. We've got Kiyashima, very aggressive player. You'll see him doing entry frags. We've got Happy as the in-game leader, very much lauded because even though he's the in-game leader, sometimes if they're doing badly, he'll be topping the scoreboard, 20 frags. NBK is like the ultimate role player. He's not a support player in terms of like doesn't have the skills, but he can do everything. He's the real utility player. I prefer that term, utility player. We've got Smiths down here in the bottom right. He's kind of a bit of a wild card, I think. He's a bit all over. Sometimes he's been known as a support player. Sometimes he'll pick up the AWP. And obviously the star name, Shox. Apparently they nicknamed him the Princess. Maybe that gives you guys kind of an idea of his personality. He's a very, very talented player, but maybe things have to be his way. I don't know. I mean, the player I want to focus in on this team is Kiyoshima because when I saw them in the past, they always placed top 4 with this lineup. They were always very good, but he was like a very inconsistent player. And I felt like at DreamHack, I saw a solid performance from him, and they won the tournament. What do you think of Kiyoshima as a player? He's been around in CSGO a long time, but he's never really fully become that star. Yeah, and I mean, I actually feel he's a little bit like Crims in terms of he used to be decent, not that great, not that bad. Then during the later stages now, he actually blossomed up a little bit. He has turned into like really good, and then like you're pointing out, Shox as a star player, feels like Kiyoshima can actually take that role from him if he keeps on playing the way he did at the end of the 2014. Okay, and from Sweden, a team Fifth Line knows nothing about, a team called Ninjas in Pajamas, NIP. We've got Forrest here, one of the most legendary entry fraggers of all time, really crazy aim. Exist is the in-game leader. It's not a fan that they just like for a wish have a jersey on. That's a real player, guys. In-game leader exists there. He's known for like a loose style, lets the stars kind of do what they want. Makalele's the new man replacing Fifth Lauren, but he's not playing a utility kind of role. He's playing like a full-on AWPer. He's a dedicated AWPer, takes it out Forrest's hand sometimes. Freeberg, one of the most famous entry players in the world. He's known to bully certain maps, King of Banana. Finally, Get Right, probably the most storied, most tenured player in CSGO history. He's always been an elite level player. His stats are wonderful, as you better damn well know he knows that. I think the player we want to talk about here, I think we're going to go with the new man. It's Makalele, because I wondered at DreamHack winner, would he actually be that good? I thought maybe he'll flop. You know, it's a lot of pressure coming into this history team that never places below top 4, and majors are always making finals. He had a really great final, pretty good semi-final, decent quarter-final. So you can see kind of the progression there. What do you think Makalele has to bring to NIP if they're gonna have like a DreamHack winner type run? Well, the difference in terms of skill and what Makalele brings to the table is he's an AWPer. That means that Forrest gets less AWPing time, he gets more rifle time, and he's gonna do what he does best, which is playing with his rifle. For them to actually do as good as they did on DreamHack, it's basically come up with new things. Sure, it worked on DreamHack because people didn't really know what to expect from the team. And now they actually had more time to concentrate on, okay, we have a new AWPer, what can we actually do here to actually change the way that we play? And this is really what NIP needs here coming into this tournament to be able to win. And the last team on our rundown here, Thorin's best team in the world. They've won 5 of their last 7 events they've attended. It's Fnatic, the most dominant team in the latter half of the year. The only place outside the top 4 once. We've got JW, a star player, but a wild card player. He goes where he wants, he does what he wants. The in-game leader is Pronax, known for a dynamic CT side. Terrorist side, he kind of tries to feel it out a bit. Sometimes he can get flustered. Olaf M is kind of, in this team, believe it or not, he's like the 3rd best player. This guy's a very skilled player. Sometimes people wondered if he'd be in NIP by now. We've got Flusher, the infamous Flusher. He'll be aiming to lock down this MLG championship here, guys. He's a very skilled kind of clutch round player, very stable player, always in the right position. And if we're going to talk about stable players, always in the right position, Crims. At the latter half of the year, this guy went just crazy. He was constantly 25 frags, 30 frags, locking down his positions, Mirage, Inferno. He was the reason why they were unbeatable on those maps. So if we're going to talk about this team here, I feel like actually I want to go with Crims as the guy to talk about because he was so stellar for the 3 tournaments they won in a row. He was like MVP performances, and they were still very good later on. They still won ESEA Season 17, but I felt like as their team became a bit more human, he became a bit more human. He wasn't quite like the out-of-the-world, unbelievable level player. Having known him for a long time, you played against LGB originally back in the first DreamHack Winter, the first major. What do you think of Crims' role and how he's developed? I think Crims' main role in Fnatic is actually being one of those really stable CT-sided players. For me, he's probably the best CT-sided player in the whole world. The way he locks down sites, the way he stays alive during crucial moments when people are hitting the bomb site, it's really key, and this is what makes Fnatic so good on the CT side. It's actually this one guy named Crims. Well, there's the teams, there's the expert info. Now, if you want to hear people talk about who's going to play who, which pool are they in, then you're going to need the casters for that. They're good at reading things off sheets. So we're going to go over to the professional readers. That's DDK and Sadicus. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Thorin. From the experts to the plebs, always good to be here. So that said, great breakdown of the teams. Goes in depth, but it doesn't really talk about how they play. So they're split up into 2 groups, as we said. 2 from Europe in each group, 2 from the Americas in each group. In Group A, a little bit less stacked, I guess you could say, than Group B. Ninjas in Pajamas, Cloud9, Kaboom, the Wild Card, and Team Dignitas.
Yeah, this is a great format for Kaboom, of course. These guys definitely have great individual skill, but they don't have as much experience against some of these teams from Europe and North America. So it's a bit of a wild card there for them. But best of one, that's how you get these crazy results from underdogs. So this is really good for them. And with Cloud9 and Dignitas being a little bit more unstable recently, having lineup changes and so on, it's actually quite doable for them. But then again, it's when you're talking about Cloud9 here, they really need a result. Like, they've got this new player in. They have this Cloud9's a huge name, and they haven't been pulling the results that they need to. This is kind of like, with Shazam in now, they have to make it work. And the problem for them is that, because I think most people will agree, NIP, they should go through.
I think Dignitas, Cloud9, it's a toss-up.
Exactly.
And as we'll look at the schedule in a minute, they actually play each other tomorrow afternoon. But let's take a look at Group B second. This is the group. It's a little bit more stacked. We've got the 2 new North American sponsors, both being announced in the last week, Liquid and CounterLogic Gaming. Liquid actually didn't even know they were going to be here until Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, and then Fnatic and LDLC, Team 1 and Team 2 in the world right now. Obviously expected they move on.
Exactly. I mean, I think most fans would feel robbed if these 2 guys didn't get out of the group and somehow make it to the finals, because that story is just it's been played over and over again. And the recent drama, of course, Fnatic being painted as villains. In the last finals, not playing LDLC in that very famous match of DreamHack Winter 2014. So a lot of history there. So yeah, very interesting groups here.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting just to see how Liquid and CounterLogic stack up against them. This is their first opportunity. Denial, of course, they had a great run at ESEA Land, but this is the first big event that they've got to stack up. So that's how they'll break down. 2 teams from each move forward, and let's take a look at the schedule and when we'll see them all go head-to-head. We start things off Liquid and Fnatic this morning, and then we start with the second Group B game, and then Group A, and then we go back over to the following group. And take a short break at lunch. The key games for me today, LDLC Fnatic, 3:30. That's going to be a big one. And Dignitas Kaboom could be interesting just to see how Kaboom goes against.
All right, let's take a quick look at Saturday then. So still things looking very interesting indeed. Lots of great matches coming up here. Fnatic, CounterLogic Gaming. Very interesting to see how this new lineup's going to do. I mean, CLG for me is a big question mark, but they could have huge potential here. So all these matches I'm just really excited for.
Yeah. And then 2 o'clock, the 2 o'clock, the one I said, the CounterLogic, the Cloud9 Dignitas. But then we get to the big ones. We get to the medal matches on Sunday after the semifinals tomorrow afternoon. Bronze medal first, and the first ever medal given out in the X Games, and then the big one, the gold medal match. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be NIP? Is it going to be Fnatic? LDLC? Could Cloud9 pull off a miracle run with Shazam? Who knows? All I know is we got our first game coming up in moments, and down on the floor now is Puckett with both Pronax and Adren, team leaders of Fnatic and Liquid.
All right, thank you guys. I have Adren here, the shot caller from Team Liquid, and I have Pronax here, the shot caller from Fnatic. Guys, you're about to face off here on the main stage to kick off the MLG X Games. We're just minutes away. Adren, let's start with you. First of all, I know this is a new team. You guys just coming together, end of 2014. Your first major tournament together on LAN to kick off 2015. How are you guys feeling today to kick off the X Games?
We feel pretty good, honestly. I mean, we have no pressure. I mean, coming into it last minute, very little preparation. I mean, we're just going to go for it.
And who is going to be the star player to watch in that Liquid booth during this first match against Fnatic?
I would say Nitro is going to perform, so I definitely watch him, but I really want to see NAF come out big.
Looking forward to it. Now, Pronax, let's send it over to you. Fnatic closing out 2014 as the #1 team in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. You're coming into 2015. What would it mean to start off with X Games Gold?
I mean, it would be really good for us to start off with a win here, and I hope we can do it, and I think we can do it as well.
Now, there's some stellar players in that Team Liquid booth. Do you guys have your eyes on one player to shut down in this matchup?
Not really. I think they are a good team, and then everyone will contribute, and we will have to do the same. We will have to win as a team, and everyone has to play good, and I think we can win if we do that.
Well, I know it is going to be a fantastic match. We're all looking forward to it. Guys, go ahead and shake hands and then head to your booths. We'll let you warm up. We are minutes away from kicking off the first match of the MLG X Games Invitational live from Aspen, Colorado. Now, we want you guys to be interacting with us throughout the weekend. Starting right now, we have our Micro Center fan poll. Use the hashtag MLGXGames and hashtag the team you think will win the first game. It's just minutes away. It kicks off when we return.